Our web page has two different divs, and these divs have some classes applied to them. So we have a blue div and a red div, and each in turn, you can see the syntax Visual Studio shows here, has div.bluediv and div.reddiv, and actually that looks very much like the jQuery selector syntax. So what I'm going to do is we're going to come in to our source and find those divs. They're right here, and you can see the class names on them. So if we wanted to go in and find all the blue divs, then all we'd have to do is apply that class selector syntax. So we just simply come in, put the dot, which represents a class name, say blue div, and then let's say we want to change the CSS style on that div. So this isn't modifying the class, but it is going in and actually adding a style. So let's say we want to change the border to 2 pixels solid red border around that. So what that'll do is go on in, find that div, and any div that matches that class. And in this case, we're going to go ahead and apply that border, and you can see it works. Now, I said find that div, and that's actually not entirely accurate. If we come back, this doesn't care if it's a div or a span or whatever it may be. We can come down, and let's just add in a span to demonstrate the concept. And we'll do blue div and just put this is my blue span. Let's go ahead and run that now. And because my selector didn't say what to find, you'll notice it also highlighted the second span, the second class that's applied within the web page. So not only is it very easy to do, but it could highlight some things you don't want necessarily. So you got to kind of know what you're doing and what you want to select. Now to make this really efficient, let's say that, let's come back, and I'm actually going to put that back in. And let's say we only want to target the div. We don't want to find everything that has blue div. So, well, as I showed you before, we'll come in and say div.bluediv, and now only the div will be highlighted with that particular style. You'll notice the span here doesn't have that particular style associated with it, so we're doing what we want here. Likewise, we could come on in and do the span, and what that'll do is, as you'd expect, ignores the div, because now we're being very specific in what the selector is doing. So that's how easy it is to work with selectors using class names. Something that's very powerful, but as I've mentioned a few times in this section, be really careful with it, because it is going to scan the whole DOM when you just do things like this. So very nice. Now the final thing to wrap up, I also showed that you can do multiples of these. So we can put a comma, and we could say red div, and if we scroll on down, so for blue div we have this, and of course we have our span that has blue div, but we also have another div with red div applied. So this will now apply that border, the red border, which you probably won't be able to see too good in the red div because it's already red, but it'll apply that border around all three of those now. And so yeah, you can't really see it on the red because it's red on red, but very nice, very easy to work with, especially compared to doing this by hand, where you'd go in, you'd have to loop through all these DOM elements and all that. And what's really nice is if we just wanted to target the divs, we could also prefix both of those and say only focus on divs that have those class names. Now when we run it, you'll see that the span is left alone. So that's an example of using class name selectors with jQuery.